What's up, everyone? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we're back with a retro review. And we're going to go over one that I've been wanting to go over pretty much ever since I got this. I actually briefly covered this album in a collection update, so long ago. I don't even know what number that was. Honestly, I'm at like almost 100 now. So yeah, some shit gets kind of lost there. But I know I covered it. And I think I even said I wanted to do a retro review of it. And we are going to go over the lone full-length from Gorement, The Ending Quest. This originally came out on May 15th of 1994 on Crypto Records. Again, this is their lone full-length, and technically this band formed in 1991 in Sweden. They kind of started out with some different names earlier on. Their first name was Testicle Perspirant, so that's nut sweat, and, well, they didn't stick with that name for very long. I guess they kind of dried up on them.
Oh.
That was pretty good. That was stupid. In '89, they changed their name to Executioner, then to Sanguinary, and they kind of kept that name for about a year, from 90 to 91, and then they just settled on Gorement after they originally went with Gorement Death, and was like, just drop the death because they'll figure that part out because this is death metal.
From testicular perspiration to Gorement. That story is nuts.
So the original lineup for this band was Nicholas Lilja. I believe that's how you say your last name. I'm not entirely sure there. He was on bass. Daniel Eriksson on guitars, as well as Patrick Fernlund on guitars. Michael Bergstrom on vocals, and Matthias Berglund on drums. Now, they managed to cut their first demo in April of '91 called Human Relic, after which Michael stepped down as the vocalist and new vocalist Jimmy Carlson stepped in, which this lineup would drop their second demo, Obsequies, in '91 also, but in November. And as diligent as they were, they kept working, and in May of '92, they dropped their first EP, just a 2-track one, Into Shadows, on Poser Slaughter Records. That is a fucking awesome name for a label. I assume they definitely did a fair amount of touring at least, but during this time they were also writing music for their full length, which they would actually get into the studio in February of '93 and literally have this thing mixed and recorded in 11 days. So I imagine there was a little bit of a layover there because this didn't come out until '94, but they managed to get it out on Crypto Records, and we're here to go over it. And this is, well, interesting because, all right, first off, this is Swedish death metal, but it's not the Swedish death metal that you're thinking of. Like, I'm sporting Bloodbath, right, but it doesn't sound like Bloodbath.
There's no HM2 here going on.
What you get is a thick, sludgy death doom tone. Like, the guitars in here are massive. And honestly, the production for the time, now granted we listened to the remaster of this, still, bad production's kind of hard to cover up, and honestly, this sounds really good.
Yeah, I mean, it really sounds like something that could have been released in the last couple of years.
Like,
say anything on like 20 bucks spin over the last 3 years.
Yeah, like literally, if someone told me, it's like, yeah, this just came out on 20 bucks spin, I was like, I believe you.
Yeah.
I have no reason not to, because this literally does kind of sound like that. And the sound, again, is interesting. Like, it's definitely raw death metal in spots, but it's also death doom and very melodic in spots. So it kind of, I don't know, walks this line between like Sweden and like Finnish death doom, like bands like Amorphous, like early Sentenced, Abhorrence, stuff like that. But also you get a little bit of like just kind of raw, gritty death metal, like Benediction, maybe a little bit of Bolt Thrower in there in terms of the groove.
Yep.
And really interesting songwriting. Like, across the board, there's a lot of interesting dynamics on here. Lots of melody, which I am kind of shocked by because it's very brutal in spots. Like, it is heavier than hell. But this album really has a lot of melodic hooks, mostly due to really well done lead melodies across the board. Not a lot of solos, but lead melodies everywhere, just to accent the, well, dreariness, because this is a dreary fucking listen.
There's not a lot of hope here.
No.
Not a lot of happiness or light. Again, I'm shocked. For 1994, and all the stuff that was coming out around that point, like, I didn't expect this.
Going from the opening track, My Ending Quest, which, again, is very dreary, very death doomy, almost kind of gothic with the melodies that are in there, but these big, booming, roared vocals. And then going into Human Relic, which, they re-recorded that from the demo, you can just feel the contrast between these two songs. Like, both of these are very much death metal, but one is more aggressive than the other, and the other is definitely more melancholy and just dreary, but again, heavy moments throughout.
Yeah, Human Relic actually reminds me a lot of like Mortiferum and Incantation Death Doom moments, and riffy as all get out. This whole record is riff after riff, but it's not like fast.
It has its fast moments, but most of it kind of hangs on like a mid-tempo to maybe kind of slow. Like, you get pockets of blast, like Human Relic. Towards the end, you get a Death Doom like sort of breakdown, but it's sandwiched in between blast beat moments that just kind of rev up the energy for a second, then back down to the depths of fucking hell again. Really cool dynamics, and honestly, the song on here that I frequently go back to is The Lost Breed, because that is a all-you-can-eat riff buffet, and I went back for seconds and thirds. This song pretty much just covers almost everything I like about heavy music.
Nasty tremolos, actually some really sweet drum work, but just stank-faced grooves throughout this song. It's crowbar.
Dude.
Early crowbar.
That second riff that comes in. Like, after you get this Death Doom intro, the second riff that comes in is so fucking crowbar. Like, it sounds like they just kind of plucked it out of something off of, like, self-titled, maybe?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I would say so, yeah.
But it fits. It kind of works. And as the song flows, like, you get, like, Morbid Angel, fucking dark, dreary tremolo riffs, big chuggy riffs, really interesting breakdowns.
Dude, the breakdown in here is nasty. It's girthy mucus.
It's thick. Like, you know, the kind you get when you haven't run the humidifier and it's been, like, real cold and dry and you have to fucking hawk up a fucking massive, thick one in the morning? Yeah, that. That's the guitar tone.
I do that every morning.
Waking up in the Midwest in the winter.
Oh my God.
You guys should avoid it.
And then we get into songs like Sea of Silence and the last track, Into Shadows. And I call out both of these because these showcase another dynamic for this band. Sea of Silence reminds me of like Couple Skate.
It's very like, melodic, but it's very heavy and it's dreary. It's somber.
It's like a dreary ballad, but there's no, singing. It's still growl.
The cleanest you get on here is some spoken word, and he's not saying anything particularly cheery, which that would just kind of fuck up the vibe of the song. What you get is kind of something like similar to like Finnish death metal, except they're covering Paradise Lost or My Dying Bride. Peak dreariness, but very melodic. Like, it's very catchy, but you still have a lot of heft to it. It feels kind of like a ballad, like if the melodies were being played without that master guitar tone, like a little bit cleaner. It would feel, I don't know, like if you slapped clean vocals on it, it could be like a dreary, I don't know, maybe dirge. Dirge might be more appropriate. I don't know, it could be a ballad. But yeah, it has a very melodic feel, but it has this dark, oppressive sort of atmosphere to it, and again, it kind of navigates around a lot of cool dynamics, and it makes it a very interesting listen. And those aren't the only examples of like interesting melodies that were kind of outside of most of the death metal spectrum. The song Silent Hymn for the Dead, it's honestly kind of an instrumental. Like, it's predominantly music. There's only a little spoken word at the end, but the melodies on this, well, I wouldn't say cheerful again, but very, I don't know, just catchy. They're almost anthemic. It starts off like a funeral dirge, and then it moves into kind of an Iron Maiden sort of like dueling harmony. And it just kind of changes the whole fucking feel. Like, honestly, this is one of the most different tracks on there. And it was just really cool to hear that. Plus, this is probably the only song where you hear like a legit long solo on it. Lead guitars are mostly used to accent the big fucking riffs on here, and we're talking like just hit a single fucking chord and let this thing just destroy you. Well, the lead guitarist is like, I'm going to compliment this very sweetly, but you guys are doing good things too.
Right. Yeah, the leads aren't flashy. I wouldn't call them flashy or even technical by any means. They're very tasteful.
Yeah.
They fit the mood without taking away from the mood.
Yeah, and this is really about mood on these tracks, especially when they get like that more melancholy sort of melody. But they don't skimp on heaviness.
They don't. Like the song Darkness of the Dead, Sick, heavy riff, yet still melodic. This one reminded me a lot of like Gatecreeper and Genocide Pact, and the breakdown on here is just a stank-faced fucking bleh.
And it's strange that, like, listening to this, you can compare this, of course, to old bands from, that era that they came out of, but there's a lot of stuff now that sounds like this.
I hear this all over the place in metal these days, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. These are elements I want to hear in death metal, like, all the fucking time because they're executed so damn well. As for any negatives about this album, honestly, I don't have many. Maybe a wonky transition or two, namely the Memorial. There is just one that it doesn't quite make sense, but I forget about it as soon as I get into the next killer riff.
Like it's abrupt. It transitioned into this odd like bass groove, but it only lasts 10 seconds maybe.
Not even that.
So yeah,
that was just kind of minor. There's a lot of stuff on here that was re-recorded from the EP. In fact, the EP, actually both tracks on the EP reappear in here, and there's some stuff from the demos that reappear in here. But at the same time, like, this was all in the time frame of about 2 years worth of work before they recorded this. So trying to get an album out quickly, you record some new songs and you re-record some old songs. And honestly, it's interesting because you can hear the difference between the older songs and some of the newer songs in terms of, like, the newer songs may have been a little bit more atmospheric, a little bit more thought out, versus the older songs, especially the demo songs, being more raw and primal. But I liked them. I liked all of them. And again, this is an album that kind of just showcases a wide wheelhouse for a band that was kind of just seemed like they were rushing along.
Yeah.
But man, did they have a fucking stockpile of fucking riffs, because this album is fucking good. So overall, I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. I love this album. I think it is a great one-off. It shouldn't have been, but we'll get to that. I like how this is Swedish death metal, but it's not your typical Swedish death metal. Like, this isn't the Stockholm sound. This isn't the Gothenburg sound. This is kind of in between a lot of different sounds. Like, there's definitely a lot of Finnish death doom in there. There's also, like, so that UK death doom, like, My Dying Bride and Paradise Lost. There's flat out brutal, fucking just heavy ass old school death metal all over. It's just a really good album, and it's a really cool listen. It flows really well. It has a lot of different shifts in terms of the mood, in terms of the melodies. It's just one of those, like, great listens. Like, listen to this whole fucking thing. Don't just pick tracks, but if you do, Lost Breed, that one.
Right?
Jesus Christ, it's so fucking good.
Don't pick one, but if you're going to pick one.
But if you're going to pick one, pick that one. But honestly, I recommend listening to the whole fucking album. This was reissued on Transcending Records, and I believe they still have CDs. I believe they even have vinyl for it. This is worth owning. I strongly recommend picking it up. It's just a fucking awesome album.
This was my first interaction with Gorement. I've never heard of Gorement. And what a great one-off record. It's actually pretty sad that it's a one-off record because it's really good. Much like a lot of what Nick said, I hear so many of the newer bands today in this sound. And I don't really have gripes about it either. I have some minor production issues, but those wear off as you get through the album anyway. I really don't have anything bad to say about it whatsoever. Definitely jam this. I'm going to give it a 4, by the way. It was just a great mix of brutality and melody and darkness and filth and grime and really all that stuff you like about death metal. At least all the stuff I like about death metal. And again, aside from a couple odd transitions, whatever. I mean, if they would have continued on, I'm sure it would have gotten past that. Yeah. So, 4 for me. Good shit. Go jam it. I'm going to jam it again. I'm definitely going to jam The Lost Breed. You should jam The Lost Breed.
That's good shit. Well, now we get down to the whole what happened part. So, pretty much, the label fucked them. They pretty much ripped off the band. And luckily that label folded not long after. Serves them fucking right. They pretty much don't have any releases in 95, 94 worth of cutoffs, so yeah. But pretty much that ended up driving a wedge in the band, jilted by the whole experience, and I can totally see that. Matthias ended up leaving. He was replaced briefly by Robin Burr, and they decided they wanted to go on, but they wanted to change the sound. They wanted to do something more melodic and maybe more in the way of clean vocals. So Carlson was pretty much out because he didn't like this change in direction, and Well, during this time, they actually just flat out changed the name of the band. In '96, they became Piper's Dawn, and they got a new lead singer, one Petra Albrecht, who would appear on Piper's Dawn's only demo, Moonclad, which came out in the same year, and then they ended up breaking up. So, I don't know, I think there was just, again, a lot of lost momentum, 96, at this point, the musical landscape had changed, and, well, 96 and, 97, that was the era where I was getting into death metal and being called a loser by everyone that wasn't. So, yeah, that wasn't the best time to be a death metal band or be into death metal. So, inevitably change was coming, and, well, I mean, it didn't work out. Now, Robin would end up drumming for a number of bands, including doing a stint with October Tide, and Jimmy, after leaving Gorement, would join Grief of Emerald and play guitar, and he would appear on, I believe, their first 3 albums, and then after that, I guess he was done too. And that was kind of the main thing with all these guys. They pretty much all kind of disappeared. Like, the whole experience probably left a bad taste in their mouth because, I mean, you put out a killer debut album and then the label fucks you over. It's almost like earache mentality. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. What a bummer.
Yeah.
These guys, I guarantee if these guys would have continued, there would be some badass music out there from these dudes.
I mean, the creativity was there, the songwriting, namely. Like, this wasn't just like meat and potatoes death metal. This was like really well thought out.
Yep.
But they didn't skimp on like trying to be like so technical and avant-garde and melodic where they lost the essence.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
Brutal.
Yep.
You need that shit. So this album is just absolutely incredible, and it sucks that it's a one-off, but it's cool that we actually get to cover it here and get to tell you about it because it's a fucking sweet album, and it's definitely worth listening to. So that concludes the brief but riffy fucking story of Gorement. We're gonna probably do some more retro reviews, but this was one that I'm glad we got off the list because this was a fuck ton of fun to listen to.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
So, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there will be a link down below. T-shirts. We will be making an announcement soon because...
We have them.
We do have them. But we want to show them off and throw in a cool giveaway because 10,000 subscribers.
Holy crap.
What he said. It's... pretty fucking incredible, and here comes the big awkward thanks because we do this at the end because we are truly appreciative.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Thank you
for following us. Thank you for having poor taste in YouTube channels. We love that about you.
Hey, thank you for sticking with us as we become dumber.
You've literally watched us become bigger idiots than we started out as, which, man, we were pretty
The bar
dumb.
was already set really low.
Oh, yeah.
Woo.
So... your patience, man, we definitely need to do giveaways. Your patience needs to be rewarded.
Yes.
But thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Indeed.
It's been awesome doing this. We're going to keep doing this because it's tons of fucking fun. We love jamming music. We might as well talk about it.
You know?
So once again, thank you all for watching, and we will catch you later.